All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me on today's show. Today's guests are RogerCarole Rogers and Sheryl Shields. Thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're
Hey,
excited to be here.
yay! I'm excited to have you guys. All right. So today's episode is about moving on and pushing past survival mode. Um, So like, oh, before we even do that, if you guys could both introduce yourselves, and just say a little bit about yourselves.
Go, Cheryl.
Okay, I'm Sheryl Shields. I'm a life coach. I am currently in the process of starting my own life coaching school for people who are outside of the stream of what regular life coaches look like. Most of the coaching communities I've been have not looked like me. I've been the only one. So I thought it's about time that I set up a life coaching school to help people who look like me and people who are from different communities that are not welcomed by life coaching community. So I'm super excited about doing that.
Oh, cool.
And I am RogerCarole Rogers. I am a person who is, I don't want to say semi-retired. I am a DEI strategist, facilitator, work mainly out of the food industry, but do that mainly because I love it, because I feel that the ability that we can develop to be able to communicate and work with each other, even though we may have lots of differences, can occur. But we many times need facilitation for that to occur. Need some insight and some awareness. So that's mainly what I do. And Sheryl and I are friends. We are
Yeah.
we are very good. Our daughters are best friends, and we're good friends.
Yeah.
We're very good friends.
Cool, cool, cool. All right, so let's just hop right into it. Okay, so the pandemic is happening. It's basically shared trauma for basically everybody here on the planet. So it's just right now everybody is literally struggling. Mentally, physically, some financially. It's a mess. What have been some of your coping mechanisms? Like, what are you guys doing to cope?
Well, I think one of the things that when I saw this question, one of the things I thought about was intentionality,
Mm.
and that if we're not intentional, we will just sit here and, oh, woe is me, or we may not do woe is me, but we will survive, but we won't thrive. And for
Mm.
me, survival is like staying in the same place. You're getting through the stuff, but you're just there. And this is an opportunity for us to do more than that. And so part of what I have done, in addition to drinking, is to I'm off liquor for Lent. I'm off liquor for Lent. But part of it is that I have made sure that I have people around me that love me. And that has been, I think, the saving grace, because I'm by myself. I'm a widow. I live in a house that's too big by myself. So that has really been, I think, the saving grace for me.
Okay.
Well, and for me, it's using the coaching adage, you have to live it to give it. So, being a coach, it's always good to have a coach or to have a therapist. And so what I've done is to just look at my whole toolbox. And what I've realized is that there are times that I'm not breathing. I mean, of course I'm breathing because I'm alive. But there are times when I feel that I'm holding my breath because stuff is just so much. So I've realized that when I do that, I need to just stop, take a deep breath, and then try to get to the core of whatever it is that I'm feeling. So if I'm, I didn't realize how anxious I was until after the inauguration. And the old
Oh
president
yeah.
was gone, and the new president and the new people were in. And I didn't have to worry about, okay, now what's going to happen now? What's going to happen tomorrow? Okay, I'm watching the news, and what did they say? What am I doing? And just knowing that I just don't have to tune into that. And that was early on in the pandemic when things were crazy and you thought you could die at any moment and you didn't know where it was or how to get it. I just realized I can't watch the news. Even some of my favorite shows, I just can't. So I had to pull back. And then, like RogerCarole said, the community, that's been so important, and
Hmm.
I've learned to see who are the people that are really in my community. Who are the people who really love me and support me through everything? And that has been crystal clear. So, of course, meditating, journaling, talking to friends and people that I love has been very important.
Well, when Cheryl was saying that essentially having a toolbox, I know the very specific tools that I have to have. I have a very strong faith, and I am very connected to my church community, and so I have that kind of bubble around me at the core. I then also have a fabulous therapist whom I have had for over 4 years now. And she has been with me through all kinds of stuff. And so I feel very supported by that. Then I have my friends and my family. And I put them together. I don't say family and then friends. I have my friend family. It's what I really have in there. And then I do things like I color. I have adult coloring. I haven't colored in a while though. I don't know why. I color, and then then I've had things. I cook. I do things that sometimes are not great in terms of my health, but I also exercise. I exercise 5 or 6 days a week, and so that has all of those things together. It's not just one. All of them together have taken me through this.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, just
Cool.
one additional thing is being able to be with my kids because I know there's so many people who don't have their kids close by, and just to know that my kids are, 5 minutes in either direction of where I am,
And
has
when you
just been a
said that,
blessing.
Cheryl, and I know that's been wonderful for you. My only child is in North Carolina. She is however many 100 miles away. I did see her at Thanksgiving, and when she hugged me in the airport, I started crying, and I didn't realize how
Oh.
much I had missed her, but also how much I had missed physical touch.
Hmm.
That I had not had someone to hug me in all of these months. Um, and so I really it was good. It was good, and I missed them.
Oh. All right. So, what's like one thing that you guys have learned during about yourselves during the pandemic?
Well, I always thought that I wanted to live in this little tiny space in an airstream and travel the country and just, live this life in this little tiny space. Well, I've spent the pandemic in a 400 square foot apartment that's a studio. It's no bed. I mean, it's no bedroom. Your bedroom is your living room, and your living room is where you where you sleep, and where you eat. And we have a bathroom and a little tiny kitchen, and it's it's been great to some extent. But I've also realized that I need a lot more space. I need an office. I need an extra bathroom. It's so many things. But I've also learned that it's not a lot that you really need. Yeah,
Mm.
of course, I need more space. Do I have to have it? I mean, if I don't, it's fine. I'll be okay. But I've also learned that I treasure the people that are in my life that love me. And so I've tried to make sure that I love them and let them know how much I love them. And that's been great. That's just been absolutely amazing. I've also learned that I really need like a couple pair of yoga pants and some shirts and some Uggs in the winter and some sandals in the summer. I mean, where you going? what you doing?
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
And then I miss cooking. I didn't cook regularly for a while. And so I started cooking again, and that's been a real joy.
Well, much in that same line of figuring out who I am, what I've discovered about myself is that it's not so much a narcissistic approach, but that if people are not on Team Roger Carroll, you can't be in my life. I mean, that's all I can say.
Yeah.
And the main way that I figured this out was I have been on Match. And the folks that I have met, the men that I have been met on Match, are not into me. I mean, they're nice, they're all of that, but you got to really be into Roger Carroll. And I want I want you to be on Team Roger Carroll because I'm going to be on Team Allison. I'm going to be on Team Sheryl. I'm going to be on your team just as much as you're on mine. But if you can't be on my team, then I don't need you. So that may seem a selfish approach, but it is, I believe, what's necessary for me to be able to be who I am. And as one of my, I have a mentee who says to me, if you don't like Roger Carroll, you're just a hater.
And you know what?
There it
And
is.
in that same vein, a lot of people that come to me to be coached, they have low self-esteem. And so they just accept certain things and anything and all kinds of things in their lives. And they've never learned to love themselves first. And so if you can't do that, I mean, that could be too why a lot of people are struggling in the pandemic. Of course, I don't know for sure, but that they see how their lives are just a series of work and home and work and home, and that there's nothing else in between. You know, there's no passion. They don't love what they do. They just love that they make this money so they can pay for this house that they may or may not really love. And so when it first started, I realized, oh, okay, this is a reset button. And so I put
Mhm.
something like that on Facebook, and they
Mm.
were like, a reset for what? And I was like, okay, so I'll explain more. It's a reset for you in your life. You get to determine what it is you want to do, what's important. And it is a time for us to sit down and to focus and to think about who we are and what we do and how we really want to live our lives.
Right.
Yeah.
And it starts with you.
The global reset.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally believe that. Okay, so like, are are we really giving ourselves time to heal during this? Because this is like a shared trauma. Do you believe that like we as a society are giving ourselves time to heal, like as a society and even individually? And what would this look like, or what does this look like?
Hmm. I don't think, and I will just take the American culture. I'm not going to try to be international with this. I think that we as a culture are not in. No, I don't think. I know we're not introspective. We're not self-analytical, and consequently, we're not thinking about how do I heal from this trauma. We just want to
Mm-hmm.
get through it and be over it and go to the next thing, and not learn from it, figure out whatever lessons God is trying to bring to us. We're not trying to figure that out. And the healing cannot take place as an individual. Healing I feel, can only take place in a loving group of people who are
Mm.
supportive of each other. I don't think that I can heal through this by myself. I need you. I need each of you to be able to help me heal. And I think we have been supporting each other through this. So I believe we are, we bind up our wounds and keep and move on to the next thing. But it is not, if anything, if there is another thing that I've learned in this, is that this really is about us as a collective of people. It is not about all the individuality that we have been taught and encouraged to exhibit in our lives.
Yeah, and I think that in order for us to all heal collectively, we have to figure out what is bugging us individually. You know, what's happening? What's going on with me on the inside? Like I said, when I would catch myself not breathing, and that was because there was fear, there was some kind of anxiety, there was some kind of something, some kind of thought that I had that caused me to just think a certain way. And then after I thought a certain way, of course, I felt a certain way. And knowing that as human beings, we have 600,000 thoughts a day. 60,000 thoughts a day, and we don't catch them. So taking the time to catch those feelings and understand the thought behind them, and then the actions that we're doing because of what we're feeling, and just to slow down.
As you said that, Sheryl, I was thinking, I am such an action-oriented person that I am always figuring out the next thing to do and don't think about how I feel as I'm doing it. I'm not in the moment. I'm not. So these are the lessons that I need to heal.
Yeah. And that's been one of the biggest things for me. It's like, okay, I'm sitting here in this little tiny space. What can I be grateful for? And I have this big, huge picture windows. If I go to one of the corners, I can see the lake. When it's beautiful, I can sit on the balcony. You know, and I have a place. I have a place to live. I have food. I have family. I have people that I can pick up my phone because I have a cell phone and I can talk to them. So it's understanding that, yeah, it's not ideal. I can't travel. I can't do all these things. But what I can do right now is to just be really, really grateful. And when I start to feel anxious or upset, it's trying to figure out what's causing that. And then do some work to process that thought or to process those feelings. But first I have to know that they're there. And that's when journaling has come in a lot. And I think it's important that we record what's happened to us during this whole part. I think that is what can lead to the healing. I saw something on the news where somebody was cleaning out some part of their attic or whatever and found a diary from their great-grandmother from the Spanish flu. And just reading about the fears and anxieties and all that stuff that she went through, because people were dropping like flies, literally, as they were here or still are in some parts of the world or some parts of the country. And so just understanding that we can decide how it is we want to share this experience with future generations. So I've been thinking about that. And when I had my second COVID shot, they gave us a little sticker, and I was like, okay, I want to put that somewhere. I want to write something. I want to probably type it out or have it electronic, because who knows what's going to be around in 20 years or 40 years or whenever it is. But just to help people to understand how I made it through, how my friends made it through, and, you know, just some things that people can do whenever they're faced with some kind of, maybe not global pandemic. Hopefully this will be the last one. But how you can make it through your own personal pandemic.
Mm-hmm. True. When you talked about journaling, I have always been very hesitant, probably because I want to put down things that are so profane that I don't want my future whatevers to know that I was this way.
Oh my gosh.
But that you could rip out, because I have clients that say, I don't journal because I don't want people to read my business or to read my thoughts or my whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, that's okay. So you can write them down, clear them out of your brain, out of your body, get rid of them. And then you can rip them up and put them in a shredder, burn them, whatever you want to do with it.
Oh.
It doesn't have to stay around forever.
When you die, you burn it.
Right. But it's just the process, just another way in which we can cleanse and get these things out, because, you know, at the end, when we can all go out and play, will we really be able to all go out and play? I mean, there's going to be some psychological baggage that people, some people may never want to eat in a restaurant again. You know, my daughter told me that she will probably always wear a mask for the rest of her life. And I'm like, okay, but I know how much you like makeup and lipstick. So I don't know when it's safe if you're going to really do that. but she might. And there are people that are going to have all kind of phobias because she was a germaphobe before this all began.
I went into a situation yesterday and they had like, a hot food bar. And I thought, oh no, I'll never do that.
Yeah.
I don't need somebody, everybody. Now I might be able to deal with one person, a server who has stuff behind glass, but I don't want the whole world out there picking up. No.
So you're not going to the all-you-can-eat buffet on a cruise?
No, I'm not touching it.
How is that going to work?
I don't even think I can get on another cruise ship at this point,
right?
because I'm like, there's too many people together.
In a confined space.
It doesn't sound appealing to me at all anymore.
No.
It was fun. It was fun while it lasted.
It
sure
was.
did. Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah, it was.
But I do feel we will get through this, but it's not going back to what it was. It's going to be different.
Right.
It's going to be a now normal, not a new normal, a now normal.
Yeah.
And I
think that people will then really appreciate, that's what I'm hoping. I mean, really appreciate those people in your life that you wanted to hug for a year or a year and a half and that you couldn't. And just to look at things differently instead of saying, you really wearing that? Maybe like, I love it when you wear orange. Orange is such a nice color on you. You should wear that. Wear more of that, and just try to be more kind and more loving to the people that we interact with in the world.
Right, just people on the street. You're right. Because we have been some mean folk. Yeah. What you got on over there?
Yeah, right.
Right, exactly.
Right. And we can think it, but
right. I mean, yeah, we'll still think it, but hopefully we'll,
we don't have to put it out in the
as much. Right.
Put it out
exactly.
There. Yeah.
All right. So we were talking. RogerCarole, you mentioned thriving earlier. Okay, so what would that look like going forward? How can we thrive during, basically during a time of isolation, basically? Because I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic. You really can't be around other people. How does that look?
It goes back to something that I think that Sheryl said. If we think of this like a plant, and that we're not so much in a dormant stage, but we are in a winter where things are not growing. But we've got to make sure that the soil stays right. We've got to make sure we've got enough water. If we don't get enough snow, you don't get the same amount of stuff that happens in the summer in terms of growth. So you got to make sure that we have whatever those things are that can propel our growth, when we come out of this winter. And whether that is most of that is how we think and how we frame the situations that we're in. Again, if we go to woe is me, no, our little roots are going to die. If we decide that we're in this winter, I'm in this winter for a reason, I may need to prune some things. If I keep feeding myself those things that make me feel good about who I am, allow me to feel good about the people around me, when we come out of this, I will bloom as a wonderful, wonderful red rose. So I think that's some of what would make us. That's what would make me. What's going to make me thrive.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think to get to thrive, you have to have some sense of who you are and what makes you happy, and how do you manage your life emotionally, physically, mentally, and what are you spending your time doing? And do you love it? I mean, do you just absolutely love it? And if you don't, then you can go and get help. You could talk to a life coach. You could talk to a therapist. You could figure out what does your ideal life look like? And if you're not living it right now, of course not during the pandemic, you're not. But we're done with the pandemic. what would that look like? What would that feel like? You know, have you always wanted to travel? Have you always wanted to learn to play the piano or do something else that, you know, because we all have those thoughts in the back of our head. Oh, I wonder what it would be like to do whatever. Start doing it. Make a plan to do it. Think about what is it that you want to live? How is it that you want to live? What is it that you want to feel on a daily basis? You know, because stress kills people and all these other things, you know. And if that person isn't making you happy, or you're not living in a place that really brings joy, then what can you do to start changing that? Of course, you don't have to do it right away.
I think part of that also, Cheryl, is that we have to give ourselves some grace and not beat up on ourselves. Oh, I had the last year and I didn't do a damn thing. You know, I just didn't do this.
Exactly.
And this was tough. This was
Yeah.
difficult. Do not beat yourself up. I have a sign in my bathroom that says essentially that you can always change shit. It's basically what I say. You can.
You can.
So hey, that didn't work the way I wanted it to. Let me do something else.
Right.
But
At
we
any
have
age.
to be gentle with ourselves too.
Right. You do. You do. And that was kind of my whole parenting motto, was that I wanted to always show my kids, be a representation for my kids of what it meant to be a good person, to live a good life, to be a good parent. Because, you know, I didn't grow up in the ideal parenting household. You know?
What is that?
But exactly. But what I realized was that when I went away to college, I knew how to take care of myself because I had been taking care of myself pretty much since I was 10 years old. And I had a roommate who couldn't even wash her own hair. She didn't know how to do laundry. She had to go home every weekend to get her hair done and to get her laundry done. And I was like, what? Really?
Wow.
You know, and I wanted my kids to know that if you're in a bad job or you're in a bad relationship or you're in a bad situation or whatever it is, that there are options. You can leave. You can do something different. You can figure out something else, because life is too short to just do stuff or to be with people or to just exist.
Just survive.
To just survive. And when we make it through this pandemic, because we're almost there, we're so close, then it's your time, or you don't have to wait until then. It's just starting to think about, what does my ideal life look like? What does it feel like? And then daydream about it, and talk to people that you trust, that are provide a safe space for you to start figuring out what little teeny tiny thing can you do in order to move towards that. And I'm hoping that a lot of people will take the opportunity and all the lessons that we learned from this year to figure out what is it that they really, really want. And then to start doing some things about it.
Yeah.
Now, earlier you were talking about, you both were talking about like what's in your toolbox. Now, for those who, I don't know how to exactly phrase that, but like, how can somebody basically pack things into their toolbox for, later on down the road? Um, what would that look like? How would somebody do that?
Well, I think it's first just being aware of what are some of the issues and problems in your current life that you want to solve. And knowing that there are people out there that can help you with that. You don't have to do it all alone. I mean, hopefully you have a really good friend you could talk to if you think that you can't afford, coaching or counseling. But it's being introspective and knowing what it is that you want. And something just as simple as writing down on a piece of paper some things to get that frustration out, that fear out, to be aware of what it is. And then just sitting quiet, because it's hard in this world that we live in to just unplug. Because, where's my phone? These things 24/7, they're with us. So putting that
Yeah.
down and allowing yourself just to be able to think and to feel what you're thinking and to figure out where that's coming from. And knowing that from there, you can figure it out. It's going to be okay. And getting the help that you need in order to do it, or turning to a trusted friend or relative or somebody that can be a sounding board. And then letting them know, I just need you to be a sounding board. I don't need you to tell me a solution. I just need you just to listen. And asking them, do you have the bandwidth or the emotional well-being right now to listen to me rant and rave? Because that's very, very important.
And I think, when we think about how we develop a toolbox, one of the things I don't think we think a lot about as adults is, what is the content of my character? We can easily see how someone else's character is flawed, but we don't ask, what is the content of my character? What level of empathy do I display? What level of trustworthiness do I have? How responsible am I? What are the things that make up good character? And is that who do I want to be? Who am I? And how do I want to change that? Because we can always change it. And most of us put up a real good front about stuff. So, but at the core, what is my character? Am I that person that I say that I want to be? And so I think that's not just a tool in your toolbox. That is the toolbox. And you put other things, in that.
And one quick way to spot it, if somebody's doing something that makes you angry, like if they're always talking about other people, or they're just being mean, or they're not being empathetic, that's a sign that that's you. That's your shadow. That's your dark side.
Oh, wow.
That's how you act. And so when I was a teacher and later became a life coach, when students came in my classroom and I immediately knew I hated them, I knew that that was a mirror. They were loud. They were boisterous. Yeah, I'm loud and boisterous. They curse. Yeah, I do. They can be mean to people sometimes and trying to be funny and sarcastic. Yep. That was me. So by looking at that and realizing that, that helped me tremendously, because then I understood that when they do these things, that I have to remember not to do those things. And then I could relate to them from a place of love instead of a place of hate.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever people would do stuff, it was like, okay, all right, I do that too. And that's it. Like you said, RogerCarole, being honest about who you are and who is it that you really want to be,
mm-hmm.
and that can change.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Okay. All right. So, another question, like basically during a time of isolation, how do you connect with others so you're not feeling like basically isolated and lonely? Uh-oh, what happened here?
No, we're here.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, because I don't know, the thing moved on me. I'm like, what?
For me, it's been just setting up Zoom meetings with people that I used to talk to every now and then, but knowing that, okay, I would like to talk to them more often. So there are different groups. Like I have a group of women that I went through coach training with, and we talk once or twice a month. A couple of girlfriends that I would travel with all the time. We talk a lot more regularly on Zoom. And just having a bubble, I'm so grateful that I have a bubble of people that I can go and visit. And we have our masks on, but we can laugh and talk and have a really good time. And that makes all the difference, because you trust them and they trust you, and you don't want to break that trust.
Right.
As Sheryl said, had this happened 10 years ago, we would not have had Zoom. We would have had our phones, but we would not have had the level of technology that we have now. And it would just have been much, much, much more difficult, although we would know that it was more difficult. But
yeah,
it would just would have been more challenging. I mean, we can bring everything that we want to into our environment. Now, do I miss being in the physical body of church? Yes, I do. Do I miss singing in the choir? Yes, I do, because that brought me joy. It's not that I could sing so well, but it brought me a level of joy that nothing else can. And while I miss that, I am grateful for the technology that allows us to be able to communicate face to face with anybody in the world for pennies. So that has been one of the main things. But I am very concerned about people who, and it's not just an age issue, because there are people who have disengaged from the technology now, and they still don't get on. And what they're not realizing is this is not going to change. We're going to have some level of using this kind of technology for the rest of our lives.
It's true. That's
So
true.
they have to get on the bandwagon, but I don't know how to bring them, because they're just getting further and further outside the realm.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
And that's all part of that self-awareness.
Mm.
You know, it's hard to learn new things. But if you don't learn new things, then where are you? You're just still right there in the Stone Age.
Right. You get left behind,
And you
basically.
get left behind and people forget, oh, that's right. Remember such and such?
Right.
Yeah. Anybody check on her?
You forget they
Right.
exist, because
Right.
you have a Zoom with 300 people on it, and there are 100 people, that 100 more that should be on, but you forget that they exist because they're not there.
It's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah, and this has been huge about getting out of your comfort zone because nobody wanted to stay home. I mean, in the beginning when it happened and I had to stay home, I was like, okay, well, I can just run into the store. I could just. And then my kids and Denny said, you don't keep your ass home. I'm like, oh, okay. How'd you stay home?
Right. And I think about how concerned I was in the beginning, because we didn't know about the virus, and so
Mm-hmm.
I had a fear, and then when I realized, okay, masking and doing all these other and social distancing can keep me safe, and I felt okay with that, and cautiously okay. I'm still not. I don't still. I virtually exercise like 5 or 6 days a week with a group of women, and the camp that we went to is now open, and folks can come in. Oh, you should come in. No, nay, nay. I'm not coming in there. No. Sweat and spit. No.
Yeah, no.
it's
No,
Mm,
thank you.
it's just too risky. There's no, I don't, if I don't have to expose myself to a group of people who are sweating and, body fluids, even if they are all vaccinated. No, I don't want to do that. Oh, scary.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. That is true. Yeah, that gave me something to think about for a minute because I'm like, dang, do I really want to put myself back in a position to be around a bunch of people? Not really, no. And
Yeah.
then there's nothing appealing to about it at this point now. I'm like, ugh. Like,
Yeah.
cause, yeah, because I wanted to. Case in point, I wanted to run into Pete's. I saw a bunch of cars. I'm like, oh, that looks a little too peoply. I kept driving because there's nothing within me that wants to be around that many people at once.
Yeah.
I went in there yesterday morning for the first time. I went early enough. There were cars, but there weren't a lot of people. I went up and down every aisle. I kept, because I just
Oh,
wanted to see how it was laid out, and it's huge and stuff. But I just kept moving because I'm not going to be standing here, you know, just perusing stuff. I want to keep my social distance. I want to be away from people. I want to explore, but I have to do it in a safe way. I would love to go to I want to go to the zoo. I just want to go to the zoo. So I'm going to figure out how to do that in some kind of
okay.
socially distanced way. But that's outside too, so it's better.
Yeah. So
Right,
that
that's
should be
true.
better. That should be a lot better.
Yeah,
Hmm.
probably like going early in the season and early in the day would
Hmm.
And
probably be your best bet.
I think they're taking appointments too,
Mm,
to do that. to try to space
Okay.
people that would be in there.
Oh,
Okay.
perfect.
That sounds
Right.
pretty
And it's
cool.
just a new normal.
Right.
People are saying, I
Right.
can't wait till we can get back to, and I'm like, you're never going back. And I
Right.
hate to say this, but kids will probably never really have a snow day ever again.
There's
Right. Why
no
would they?
reason to. If you can hop on Zoom, you gonna have school.
Which is great because as a former teacher, I hated making up those extra 4 or 5 days. And I'm like, could have been on vacation by now. But I didn't object to the snow days. So,
Oh goodness. So yeah, so back to the to the question about like how do you not feel so isolated and alone? Like how
well, it's making sure that you are consciously and purposefully and intentionally talking to people.
mm,
And, a lot of people work. And so it's being respectful of them working from home, but understanding that with any relationship, it's give and take. There are people that you call, and then there are times that they call you. And if you're okay with doing all the calling, okay, and you get something out of that relationship because of that, that's fine. But it's understanding that relationships really work when it's both ways, when it's give and take, when people are calling you to tell you something interesting, and just making a conscious decision to stay in tune with people, to stay in relationship with people.
When you said that, Allison, I said to myself, have there been any days when I did not talk to anyone? I don't think so. I can't believe that. But it is about the relationships. If you don't have meaningful relationships, I do mean meaningful because there's somebody I talk to probably almost every night, but I don't see it as a meaningful relationship. So it's not something that I would miss if it weren't there.
okay.
So I think you've got to have relationships. Again, you got to be on Team RogerCarole. So,
Yeah, because if people aren't supporting you, but this is the test. When I hang up the phone, did I say, "Oh my God, I'm so glad I spent that 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 2 hours on the phone with them," or am I thinking that's 2 hours I'm never getting back? Never, never. And there
or
are people,
even though you woke me up, I'm glad to talk to you. And I do love some sleep. Oh,
right,
sleep! I love some sleep.
right,
Oh.
right,
And let me
exactly.
just put in a pitch for that Savage Fenty onesie. It is
Yes.
yes,
This sucker is so comfortable.
it's so comfortable.
Whew.
Oh, put that on. It's just hug you.
Exactly. It's like a big plush hug. It's like, oh.
And
Okay, so
I'm
so I'm
so
not on
sorry.
that train. I need to get on that train then, right?
Yes, you
Right,
do.
Okay,
right.
all right.
I'm so sorry I didn't have it when we were 15 below zero. That's
I
that's what I
Oh
know. Oh
yeah.
my
really
God.
needed. I just got mine last week, and I had it yesterday morning. I zipped myself up in there, put it on the hood. It
Okay.
was wonderful.
All
Wonderful.
right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. See, that's why I'm glad I'm in a relationship with y'all, because sister be sitting over here cold.
You need to get you one of these onesies.
Right. Right.
Nice. Nice.
Good. Really, really good.
Yeah,
But I don't know that we should always fight loneliness.
No.
Mm.
Oh my God. I love it.
Oh.
I love it so much. I don't have it often, but I love it. I love it.
But not there's being alone, there's being lonely.
True. It's
And
two different things.
Two different things.
so when I'm lonely, I feel it gives me an opportunity to appreciate what I need so that I'm not lonely. But it's like if everything went wonderfully in your life, you wouldn't have the chance to appreciate anything because that was what you think the norm is.
Right.
But I think that we have to realize that there's a value to our being lonely too. Not
Yeah.
to the point that we're depressed, but there's value.
Right.
Right.
And that's one of the biggest challenges for my clients is when I tell them that I want them to think about in the beginning spending 15 minutes alone in complete silence. And they come back and they're like, "Oh my God, I had a million thoughts and I just couldn't process them all. I just couldn't. I said, "Well, did you catch one or two?" No, because they just kept coming. And then I got up and said, "I got to do something. I got to." And so I said, "Okay, well, how about we just try 5 minutes? Just 5 minutes. Like you could do it on a toilet. I don't care. It's fine. It's 5 minutes. Just silence, just to be quiet, just to tune in and see what's happening. And try to catch one thought and then go from there. Write it down so that we can talk about it. You remember, put it in your phone, whatever." But that's a big thing. And with people being stuck at home, they're like, I I work, and after work, it's like I just do my work because I don't know what to do, and maybe I watch TV, and maybe I don't know.
Have some level of intoxicant.
Yeah, yeah, make it fun.
Yeah. Exactly. So if I have to be in the house, I might as well make it fun.
Right, right, exactly, and knowing when you're making it too much fun. So,
Right.
That part.
Which is another concerning thing as we look at everything in the in this period, in this pandemic, is that we've eaten too much, we've drunk too much, we've done too many other kinds of mind altering processes. And so how do we detox from
That
those
part.
things?
Yeah.
right.
So because we can't, neither our bodies nor our minds, I cannot imagine that for another year binging Netflix, consistently.
Mhm.
Now Netflix could probably put out enough material for us to do that, but
Yeah.
do to us
Yeah.
if we do that.
Mhm. Yeah, it's kind of like I remember when I went away to college, and girl that lived down the hall from me. I mean, she was a nice girl. It was like a group of 5 or 6 of us that would hang out and do stuff. And whenever she saw a guy, she was like, "Oh my God, that's a cute guy." And she would go over and she's all in his face and talking to him. And one day I asked her, I said, "Why do you do that shit?" Because my mom would never let me date. I could never be around guys. I'd talk to some guys in school, but I could never call them after school. I could. So she was so clamped down and locked down that when she got to college, she was like, yes to everything, whatever it was. And so there may be some level of that
Yeah.
when people
Mhm.
are out, unless you live in a state that's never been closed. So you've
Well,
always
yeah.
gone to bars and nightclubs.
Yeah, I can't imagine that Lollapalooza is ever going to happen the way Lollapalooza happened
Right,
again.
I can't even imagine going back to that, honestly, because
right.
it's too peoply.
Came to
Yeah.
Chicago. I mean, we're back to back, belly to belly. So,
Yeah. Mardi Gras.
Right.
mm. And
Yeah.
I loved all of it, all of
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Then,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, exactly. That's the operative word. Then.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I went to Mardi Gras once and said I'll never go again. I mean, it was just too many people, and I got claustrophobic. So after that, it was like, okay, nothing is too big because just I just can't be around all those too many that many people.
without the level, and now we just have to be concerned about too many things. And your child, will be there masked up. We'll just have to have better masks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then during cold and flu season,
Oh yeah.
okay, I still got these masks, so I'm still gonna
Yep.
wear them.
Exactly. Yeah. The
It's like traveling
plexiglass.
down south. You put your
Yeah.
mask on, you have a mask on, people are like, they ain't from here. You're right. I'm not.
Exactly. Because I don't think I'll ever take the plexi down off of my nail table. I
Yeah.
will forever have that plexi shield up.
Right.
Mm-mm. I
Right.
just, yeah, I just don't see
Right.
that ever coming down.
Yeah. And people that never wash their hands. I remember when I was teaching like for 3 years in a row, I got pink eye, like within the first 2-3 weeks of school. And I'm like, you little nasty bastards, who is touching that eye and touching that paper?
Oh my God.
I started grading papers with gloves on. I'm like, y'all not getting me no more. Or I go to touch mine, I was like, nope, pink eye. Let me go wash my hands.
Oh gosh.
No, it's a level of stuff that we just take for granted now
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
we will continue to do because that has protected us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not willing to give up that level of protection.
Right. One of my favorite is hitting the elevator button with my elbow.
Yep.
You know, I used to go press the button.
Oh, yeah.
Press the button.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Not with my hands, not anymore.
Right. Guy once tried to curse me out because I wouldn't let him get on the elevator. He was like, oh, can I get on? I was like, no, press, stop, close. And then he said, as the door was closing, he was like, I won't bite. And then as the elevator pulled away, he said, but I might have. And I wanted to say, you effing freak. But, you're in the elevator. You can't be screaming all through the elevator shaft. So I could have.
You could. You could.
Yeah. True.
Alrighty. Yeah. All right. So, wrapping up. All right. So, what's one thing that you'd like to tell the viewers? Like one piece of advice going forward with healing through let's say healing through the pandemic and whatnot. So, like, what's one piece of advice that you can give them?
It's funny when you started saying that. The thing that came to my mind was make new friends, but keep the old. Some are silver, and the others are gold. And that's what I would say.
Okay.
I think that's when all else is said and done. That's all we got is each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah, and mine would be just to tune into what you need, what you want, and pay attention to your feelings, because they're feelings for a reason, and it's okay to feel them.
That's true. That's so true.
And it's all going to be okay. We'll all be okay.
Right. And we are more resilient than we think.
Yeah.
That's true.
I'm trying to remember, there's a quote from Winnie the Pooh, and one of the characters in Winnie the Pooh, who essentially says that you're stronger, paraphrasing, that you're stronger than you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
And we really are more resilient than we know.
Yeah. Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
And we've kind of had to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then taking stock of that as well. I mean, we wear masks. Now we wear double masks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's hard. It was so hard that, like, going in the mall.
It's still too people from me.
Yes, right. Me
Still
too.
people. Oh.
Right. I don't know. I thought about, when was the last time you went into some place and tried out and walked?
Yeah, mine was my birthday. When I was looking for that wedding, for the gown for my son's wedding, and we couldn't try it on. So I had to try it on over my clothes.
Oh, jeez.
And couldn't tell if it really fit. So it was like, I'm just gonna buy it and take it home, and it fit. Yay!
Yay!
Oh, and then that's another thing. Find stuff to look forward to.
Yes. Yes.
Cause that's been saving me so much when I think, okay, one more day. Well, tomorrow I get to do this, and then the day after that, and then in June my son gets married, and then I can, so just stop.
Right.
Find something, even a little bit, like, well, tomorrow I can have breakfast, a nice breakfast, whatever, something.
Make occasions. I will sometimes go into my, take out some good china, sit down at my dining room table by myself, good china, good silverware, good crystal, and sit down and treat me.
Okay.
You
So-
know what we should do? Because
That's
Roger
good.
Carole loves to cook and entertain. So once a month, she would have like some of her friends over and she would cook us a fabulous meal and we would bring wine and alcohol or whatever. So we should do a virtual one where we just sit. I don't know if I have any fine, I don't have no fine china, but I have some plates.
You
we
have some
should do
fine
that.
china someplace. You don't
I
have
don't.
it there.
I don't.
You
I don't. Maybe I'll buy a place setting though.
Okay. You do it.
And do a Zoom dinner
Right.
party.
Right.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yes. That's something to look forward to.
That's something to look forward to. We got to make situations, things to look, again, being intentional.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. 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 That's been a
Spontaneity
big thing.
doesn't work in the pandemic.
Right.
Yeah. That's true.
Right. Right. And then that's just a way to live your life, period. You know, every day I set an intention. I sit and I journal. What is it that I need today? What should be my intention? And stuff comes to me. You know, sometimes it's just
Okay.
like, just breathe. Make sure you're breathing, girl. Make sure you're tuning in and breathing.
Okay, well, a lot of times we breathe so shallowly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Such a shallow
Yes.
level that we're not
Yes.
getting enough oxygen.
Yes. Yeah.
So our brains shrivel up.
Yeah. Right. Like, don't do that. Don't let that happen. So yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good.
All right. So I want to thank you both for joining us today. And once again, my guests are RogerCarole Rogers and Sheryl Shields. And I thank you guys both for joining me today.
Thank you, Allison. This was so much fun.
Regular girl.
Yes,
Thank you,
regular chick. Woo-hoo.
So yeah, thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.